Hello guys and welcome for another New World video. I've asked in my YouTube channel what build would you like to see first for the upcoming Season 5 update in New World. The votes went against my expectations and the most selected build was the medium Spear-Rapier, which I usually use for a frontline, dex or flex, and I like to run it with shirking heals. Right after the PTR release on the 15th of February, I made a video explaining what are the most exciting changes in terms of artifacts for me, and I said that the new heavy pants, which are called Ironhearth, will most likely replace the Tumbler Feetwraps. To this day, I still believe that this will be the case due to the better overall defense and the higher HP value gained from the new artifact. In order to understand why the heavy pants should be the better option for the medium players, we have to take a deeper look into them and of course compare them with the light Feetwraps. For start, we must say that the Ironhearth cannot be played in anything else apart from medium. The reason is quite simple. The bonus of 20% HP is only applied if you are not in heavy gear, and as we know, having a heavy piece in light will not be possible without the featherweight, which is another artifact. If we compare the perks of the two, we can clearly see that the heavy pants are having a better value due to the enchanted ward perk compared to the physical version on the boots. The refreshing is equal for both sides as they both have it as a secondary fixed perk. The main difference comes from the unique passive from both items. As already mentioned, the Ironheart provides 20% more HP, which technically means that if you have only health perk on your amulet, with 200 constitution, you will be able to reach 20,000 HP. Meanwhile, the Tumbler Feetwraps are providing a 15% Empower, 25% Fortify, and of course the signature 200 base plus 2% of your max HP healing upon dodge. All that however comes only if we manage to successfully avoid an attack, which is not that hard in a bigger scale PvP fights. On paper it looks that the boots are better simply because their bonus is quite big and also touches different stats such as Empower, Fortify and Health Recovery. On the other hand, if we still run Shirking Heals with the Ironheart, all our Shirking Heal perks will get a boost of around 45 HP, and this of course is before the bonuses provided from the Ankh and the Divine perk. This means that we might be looking at close to 300 HP more on each and every Shirking Heal proc. Also, let's not forget that we get close to 3000 more effective health, which with the medium armor values is quite a lot. To top that off, even more, we are running Spear, which is maybe one of the best weapons for building Fortify. Looking at it this way, it feels that the only negative side of the pants artifact is the loss of 15% in power, which at the end of the day is not something to die for. Your job as a front line should never be to kill people on your own, but instead to apply the needed pressure and to secure easier time for your DPS teammates. And now, since we mentioned the core differences between the two, let's take a closer look at how would the best build look like. Starting off with the armor pieces, we definitely would like to have the 5 Shirking Heals. Their value is extremely high and should not be ignored. Of course, going with only 3 or 4 is still a nice option in case you want to use conditional for their places. Then we have to make sure that we have the necessary perks for our spear, which in this case are the Skewer and Cyclone. Perforate is the most important perk, but we want to keep that for the spear as it will provide us with an extra 45% Fortify. And lastly, we have to decide between the perks Shirking Fortification, Enchanted Ward and Elemental Aversion. As we are aiming to remain in medium loadout, this means that we can only have one more heavy piece and that should be the chest. The best choice for that would be the Frigid Down chest, as it will provide you with the illegal combination of Elemental Aversion and Enchanted Ward. For last perk, you can choose the Shirking Heels. For the remaining 2 light and 1 medium piece, there are 2 different options. The first one is to farm the different sets from the dungeons Depths, Glacial Turn and Savage Divide, and to test your luck for a potential perk or conditioning. However, this way you will not be able to slot the Shirking Heels perk, as those sets are not upgradable on the Gypsum Clean. For the second option, which is a bit faster as long as you have the resources for it, it is to make specific crafts. This way you will be able to choose one of the 3 mentioned previously perks, Enchanted Ward, Shirking Fortification or Elemental Aversion. You can choose as well Conditioning perk, which should be Trust, Slash or Flame Conditioning, and of course this way you can also guarantee yourself to have Shirking Heels as a last perk. Since all the defensive perks are valuable and usable, I would like to leave the choice up to you. Think about what would you like to have and prioritize the perks after understanding what are the pros and cons in your own playstyle. Moving on to the jewelries, there is not much of a change since the last season. The best amulet to use still remains the Ankh with the last perk of Slash or Trust Protection. The reason for not taking stamina recovery is simply because the skill tree of the spear, which provides us with a lot of stamina recovery on its own. For ring, the best 2 perks would be Trust Damage and Hearty, and for a third one you can choose between Invigorated Punishment, Bloodletting or even Mortal Empower. I personally think that Invigorated would be the best choice, as the other 2 are more situational. The best earring still remains the one that provides Fortifying Toast, Refreshing Toast and Regenerating. For gems, I would suggest you to try and balance them with the perks for equal defense. For example, if you have many Elemental Aversion perks, the better choice would be to go with more Onyx gems. If you have more Enchanted Ward perks, Opals will be your best counterbalance. And now, since all the armor and jewelry pieces are known to us, let's take a look at the weapons which we will use and their respective skill trees. For Spear, I love to go with Fortifying Perforate for higher Fortify value, combined with Plague Crits and of course Penetrating Backstab. With this spear you are not only insanely tanky, but also you can surprise your enemies with sudden death. The skill tree that I'm using for the spear is the one that you see on your screens. I personally don't like to play sweep due to the existing lag and desync in wars. However, if that's your choice of play, you can simply replace the skewer with it. For gem, I go with the Runeglassed Opal, and the type of element is up to your choice. For secondary, I like to go with the finisher, on which I was previously running with Keenly Empowered, but this was due to the Flurry plus Flourish and Finish combo. For this season, I will go with Evade instead of Flurry for even more mobility, and we will replace the Keenly Empowered with Plague Crits. Again, for the gem slot, I suggest you to use Runeglass Opal with any effect of element. The skill tree of the rapier is the one that you currently see. I like to use Flourish and Finish, Evade and Fletch, as those 3 skills will give me the highest mobility possible while still providing a bit of damage. On the topic of Heartrunes, there are 2 options which you can use. The one being Vines, and the other one is the more defensive option to go for Stoneform. Again, I leave that for your choice, as this is again heavily related to your playstyle and skill level. I personally prefer to play with Vines, as they give me extra crowd control and pressure over my enemies, and of course they also provide Rend and Weaken. Last but not least, the attributes on the build are similar to the ones from the Season 4. I go again with 200 Constitution as a baseline, combine that with 25 Strength for the extra damage on all light attacks, also combined with 25 Intelligence for 5% more damage on all critical and backstab hits. Of course, everything else goes into Dexterity. With all the gear at 700 gear score and the highest tier of food, you should be able to hit 370 dexterity. And with that guys, I think I've covered the build for medium frontline using Spear and Rapier. If you think I've missed something, please let me know in the comments below. Also make sure to share your feedback whenever you manage to test the build. For that purpose, you can use my Discord community server, for which you can find the link in the description below. There we discuss all kinds of things related to New World, but not only. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.